Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a very special video planned and I'm going to be talking about Richard Ramirez. This is going to probably be the longest video and the most painful video I'm going to ever film. So if you don't know who he is, he's an American serial killer. Yeah, we're going to get into his case and some of his murders and whatever. And yeah, it took me about an hour, I want to say, to get these notes down. Do you want to know how thick my papers are? Like, all of these are just on Richard Ramirez. Now, this is a big case I'm very fascinated with, basically just because he had no motive, he didn't care, he just killed and he showed no remorse. And people say he was one of the best, or well, not best, but like one of the most scariest serial killers to ever exist. I don't know if I believe that statement. Like, have you seen Jeffrey Dahmer? And like Ted Bundy and all that? I don't know. If you guys want me to do those videos on them, then I will. And I just want to give credits to Georgia Marie, who made a video, and I got most of my notes from her video. So, thanks, Queen. So, I'm just going to get on with the video now, because we have a lot to go through. And it might take me 2 days to just film this video and edit it and whatever. So, if you see me change clothes and the lighting changes, that's because it took 2 days. Right, there's a normal common theme with serial killers where they just have a head injury from a young age. Richard had 2 head injuries. So, I'm going to start with when... Actually, no. So he had like 3 kind of... Well, he had 2 head injuries, but one kind of... Like, when he was like in the womb injury. So, his mum worked at a factory when she was pregnant with him. And this was in the 1950s era, so there was not much, like, protective gear. So she, like, kind of inhaled a lot of chemicals, and people said that kind of messed with his development when she was pregnant with him, which I believe, because they were, like, strong chemicals as well. They weren't just chemicals. They were strong chemicals, especially in the 1950s. And then when he was 2 years old, a dresser fell on his head, knocking him unconscious for about 15 minutes. He had stitches, and then when he was 5, a swing knocked him in the head unconscious again, and this is where he started having seizures. He was diagnosed with epilepsy. So like when he was 6, he got a lot of fits. So that's just like a little recipe to like make a serial killer child, which Jesus Christ. And then to make it all better, his father was very abusive. And they became very distant, and he was one of 5 or 4 children. I don't know if the father was abusive to all of his children, but he's quite abusive to little Richie. And I'm sorry if I look down a lot, it's because I've got a lot of notes. Richard would even like escape the house just to like sleep in cemeteries just to get away from his father. So that just, you know. And the first time he ever smoked weed was in a cemetery. Just thumbs up there, mate. And then he obviously became very distant with his father, and Mike, his cousin, I believe, came into the picture. Now, I think this is where he kind of like snaps and is like, oh shit, I'm a serial killer. Like, where he gets his serial killer motives from, I guess. So, Mike was a refugee, I believe, serving in the Vietnam War, and he obviously killed a lot of people, and he obviously trained for a bit for the war, so he knows how to kill somebody and knows how to be stealthy about it. And he taught, like, as they would like ride around the neighbourhood smoking weed, and Mike would teach him all of these killing techniques. And he was like, Richard was very young, So he was about 12, 10, 12. And when at 12, Mike showed Rich a lot of graphic images. He even showed pictures of raped women, and he even showed a picture of a lady with her head cut off like this. Like, he was shown that at 12. So that's also, I forgot to mention, there was nuclear fallout a lot. So all of his siblings had a lot of like medical problems, and they were quite poor, so they couldn't pay for the medical problems that they experienced because of the nuclear fallout. So it is what it is. And yeah, so he basically just knew how to kill somebody. He was like raised and like taught how to kill somebody, and he came across many people in his life when he was like around my age, who just showed him how to kill people and whatever. And then eventually Mike and his wife got in a very heated argument one day, and Mike for some reason kept his gun in the fridge. He turned to his fridge, got his gun, and shot his wife in front of his 2 kids and Richard. Now, Richard, like, he didn't react to it. He didn't find it, like, alarming. Like, Mike just turned to him and said, "Don't speak a word of this," and he never did. He just didn't really react to it. And then after he was sent to see his brother, like, after what happened, and also Mike got away with murdering his wife. He just pled insanity, and they, like, in the court, they just spoke about what he did for the country and everything, and he was just found not guilty. And he had like a lot of PTSD from the war, so he just didn't do anything about it, which I think is stupid and insane. So after he was sent to see his sister and her husband or boyfriend Roberto, I'm pretty sure that was after, and it was during this time he got into a lot of pornography. He also correlated sex and violence together, so yeah. I think that just explains it all there. And Roberto was known as a peeping Tom, so he was known for like being kind of like weird person, like creeping in, like not creeping in, but like looking through women's bedroom windows and seeing them unchanged. And he took Richard along with him. And I don't even know, like, this case is just insane to me. He even taught him how to, like, look through windows and sneak around and all that. And at this point, he was age 13. And at age 14, he got into stronger drugs, like cocaine and a lot of other shit. And then I think it was around, like, my age, he got into sadism? It might have been my age, I don't know. And then this was just a big fuck you to his parents, because his parents were very strongly Catholic back in the day. And they raised him on, like, Jesus and God and blah, all that stuff. So, and then after he was sent to a juvenile camp. Also, like, sometimes when he would break into homes, he would never even do anything. He would just practice, like, sneaking around, see if he could get away with it. And he did. He was very successful in that. And I tried to do this in order, but my notes are quite messy, so bear with me. Okay, yeah, so around this time, Richard would break into homes, and he dropped out of school and moved to Los Angeles, which I don't think he stayed there for long. And he continued his crimes, like, he would steal cars, and he briefly got imprisoned for stealing a car. So they had a mugshot, which will be used later on, which I will mention. This was around in 1984, I believe. And then it was around 18 that he let himself go, like his personal hygiene, like his teeth would rot, which is a very good key point, because when he would, like, people that survived his attacks and whatever would mention about his teeth, like, it was a very notable thing about him. And his, like, eyes, his, like, dark hair, how skinny he was. And because of, like, how, like, he did theft a lot, and he would, like, steal cars, he was on police radar quite often. One of the murder techniques he was taught was how to cut a person's neck in a certain way so it would kill them instantly, and he used that on a lot of people, which is also mentioned in some of the cases. I'm not going to go through every single one of the murder cases because I would be sitting here for about 3 days, and my arse would hurt from the wooden floor. Like, I have a cushion underneath me because my arse would rot away. I know it would, if I just sat here, like, just sitting here talking, because it would take a long time. I'm already like 12 minutes in. I don't know what time it says for you, but it's 12 minutes. I've already been recording. I've probably cut lots of things out. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about one of his first murder cases. This wasn't his very, very first murder, but it's known, like, one of his, like, first. So, June 1984, first known murder. He raped and stabbed a 79-year-old woman. And then in 2009, he was implicated in the April 1984 murder of a 9-year-old girl, and he was not charged for that murder, even though DNA results came back that it was him. I don't know why, but he was not charged. I never really found online why he wasn't charged. And I'm pretty sure this happened in a hotel. And her younger brother found her hanging from a pipe. And it was also known that another person was, like, helped him through that 9-year-old murder, because they found, I think, another person's DNA, but they didn't mention anything because they were a minor at the time, so they couldn't say anything to the public or anyone. So, I don't know. Like, people did think that he had more than one person with him, but the only other person that was ever known was that minor at that, like, case. I don't think any other case he had another person with him, like, helping him. But it was definitely known, like, it was proven here, that at that 2009 murder, well, at that 2009, like, when they found out, there was another person there, so. And then he waited 8 months before resuming killing. And then he eventually, he got a job at a hotel. I'm pretty sure this was the hotel where he killed that 9-year-old girl. He had a lot of fantasies of killing and raping people, and obviously when you work at a hotel, they give you a key to, like, every room. And one day he just got his key card and entered a room where his wife was there, but I think her husband went somewhere, I don't know. And he entered the room and attempted to rape her. He was unsuccessful. Very happy about that. And the husband actually walked in and helped the wife and beat him. So, yeah, and about that case, they did originally press charges, and then they dropped the charges because they lived in different states and they didn't want to go back to Texas. So they just dropped the charges. Yeah. And most of his deaths occurred in Los Angeles, which people have noticed. And in Los Angeles at the time, everybody trusted everybody's neighbours, so they would mainly have, like, their windows open at night, their doors unlocked, which is literally like a gold mine for Richard. He took this to his advantage, and he entered people's houses and just freaking went wild, bro. Oh yeah, just to put this on a scale, by the way, he killed 12 people in the next 5 months. And then, okay, I'm going to get into some of his murder cases. So, one day, a woman was getting out of her car. I'm going to try and remember this from the top of my head because I didn't make very much of a note of it. A woman got out of her car and I think she censored like somebody behind her. So she looked behind her and she saw Richard standing there, and then she puts her hands in front of her face and Richard shoots her, but the bullet ricochets off of her key, and from the impact anyway she fell on the floor. Richard, thinking she was hurt, entered the condo, and her roommate Dale obviously heard the commotion outside, so she like hid and she like peeked over like the counter, and Richard saw her shooting her and killing her instantly. So, and then after that he went and he like, I don't know if I made note of it, but I think he killed another person after that. Like, he was known for like, if he wasn't satisfied enough after like killing one person or like robbing somebody, he would go and do more like that night. Like, he didn't give a fuck. He just went. Yeah, and then also the woman that was alive, what is his name? Freaking Richard. Why did I call him Robert? Richard saw that the woman she thought was harmed was alive, and she just said, "Don't shoot me," and he didn't. Like, he didn't shoot her, which, I don't know, if I was a serial killer, I would shoot her and kill her, because what if she, like, I don't know, secretly got a picture or something. But I don't know, he didn't give a fuck, he just left. And she described him how many people described him, with his teeth, his hair, his height. Like, he was like Hispanic or Mexican. And yeah, so also some of his known names from the media were the Walking Killer, the Valley Intruder, and the Screen Door Killer, because obviously, as I mentioned, he would get through like some people's screens, because they were normally open at night because everybody trusted everybody, and I think that is stupid. So, and then the media picked up the pace. He got a lot of attention, obviously. So the media picked up the pace on this case, and he loved it. Like, they didn't know who he was, obviously, but he just loved it. And okay, one night, I think this was after Dale's killing, maybe, I don't know, but he soon after kills a 64-year-old man and ties his wife up, demanding where the valuables were. And as Richard was going to look for the valuables, the wife breaks free of like her the cable ties that he used to tie her up, and she was able to get a shotgun from under the bed, and she clocks it on Richard, and she like tries to shoot, but nothing came out because it wasn't loaded. Personally, if I had a shotgun under my bed, I would have it loaded. Richard saw that and it pissed him off, I tell you, and she got shot 3 times, killing her instantly. And then afterwards, he mutilated her body, which I think, what fascinates me so much, if you were just going to kill somebody, you would just kill it and get run out. He liked to torture them in a way, like he would cut up their body, and then yeah, it was very disturbing. It was a very disturbing case. And then, this is where the police find a shoe print in the garden bed. The media didn't cover this at that point because they wanted to build a case, but everything was ruined, and I'm gonna get to that bit in a little bit. And then so they got the shoe print, and And then they slowly started to realise there's a serial killer on the loose, but they didn't want to say anything to, like, scare people. But they people did know that, like, there was some killings going on, kind of. And then another case, another break-in I'm going to mention. He broke into Mabel's house, and I think she was with her disabled sister. I don't know if Mabel was the disabled one, but one of them was disabled. And then broke into the house. I think, okay, so he attacked Mabel and attacked the sister. I don't really know what happened to the sister. But with Mabel, he attacked her, and then he used a lipstick to draw a pentagram on her thigh. Now, obviously, I think the media might have gotten told this, and the media erupted. They were like, "Oh my god!" They were like going crazy about this, and he loved it, bro. This hyped up the media, and this was like, Jesus Christ, how the break. Like, the media loved, like, he just loved the attention he was getting, but obviously they didn't know who he was, but he obviously knew it was about him, and he was like, And he started getting cocky real quick, by the way. And then, okay, so Mabel later on dies in the hospital, and by the way, the two sisters were found 4 days later after the attack. 4 days. I think their gardener found them. I think that was their garden, yeah. And then I think the other sister survived. I'm unsure of that, but Mabel did later on die. Okay, there's another break-in that I'm gonna mention. He broke into this one person's house. I think their name was Carlos, and then they put their son in a wardrobe. And then I think he rapes the mum, and then he didn't kill any of them. I don't think. I think he just stole some things and just left. Like, he fled. He was known to be quite a cowardly person, but to be honest, he is very, very, very intelligent. And this is not what a lot of people realise, like, what he did. And then another break-in. He attacks a 16-year-old girl, ties her up with, I think it was thumb cuffs. He tied her up with, and then he tries to choke her with the telephone cord, and it sparks. And he sees this as a sign from Jesus, and obviously, with being a Satanist, there's one where, I could go on a video about this, but it's just too long. There's two types of Satanism where you have all these fantasies and whatever, and you take them out, you actually do them, and then there's another one where you believe in Satan and his words, but you also believe in Jesus, but you don't really believe in his words, but you believe in Satan. He was kind of a mix of the two, and obviously being Catholic, he grew up with Jesus in his brain, basically, and he saw that, obviously when it sparked, he saw this as a sign of Jesus, so he just stops the attack and fled the scene. Also, there's a video I wanted to mention where people do describe his eyes like looking into a dark hole, and I'm just going to put the video in right now because, like, there's a certain video where he looks at the camera, smirks, and looks back, and it's just like the creepiest shit. So I'm going to insert it now.
On earth would you have hurt those people? Why did you kill those people?
No comments. I cannot answer it at this time.
Yeah, Oh yeah, so the lady was called Whitney. She survived, but she had to get like 475 stitches, and she had to get cosmetic surgery to repair the damage. And what he did a lot was he made people swear to Satan that there was no other valuables left in the home. Like, when he would break into homes and he would want to steal, where he would ask the people where the valuables are, and he would just make them swear to Satan because he's a Satanist. And then July 20th, okay, so I'm going to mention this again. He would use weapons within the home to attack people. He would never really, bring his own weapons. He would bring a gun around with him. Like, if he needed to use it, he would use it. But obviously, on the July 20th, he buys a machete, I feel like if some random person was like, I want to buy a machete, like, if they were like, bought a machete, I'd be like, do you have a license? Like, why are you going to use this? I would get very sus of this guy, I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. So he has a machete. And then he drives a stolen Toyota to Glendale, breaks into a home, attacks them in their bed with the weapon, then shoots them in the head, robs, mutilates their bodies, sells goods. So he commonly sold the jewellery he got. At this point, he had no job, so this was basically his job, like breaking in, killing people, stealing their shit, and then selling them, just so he'd get money. I think he used the money for drugs, mainly. And then, yeah, he often just mutilated them. He wouldn't just want to kill them. He would just want to, like, torture them in a way, which I think is very psychotic. He drives to Sun Valley, I think that's how I read this on here. He drives to Sun Valley, and then he breaks into another home, murders a man with a shotgun, and then he rapes the wife and then beats him and their son. And he was able to steal about 30,000 worth of jewelry. So yeah, that's a lot of money. And then he breaks into another home, shoots 2 people. He shot the man, but I think he survived, and he was kind of able to fight back. So breaking into like another home, police announce they have a killer on the loose. So they start to realise that there's a serial killer on the loose, because he would often kill people within the same neighbourhood, or like the same town. And obviously Richard was keeping up with the news because he wanted to know what was like going on with him and stuff, and what they knew of. I think this was the first time they publicly say that they have a serial killer on the loose. They say this serial killer is responsible for 6 murders. He was actually like responsible for more than 6 murders, but they didn't know that. They didn't link all of them at the time. And then people were often really scared because they linked these murders, and there wasn't any really common theme. They were robbed, that's just like one theme. But he had no motive, which scared a lot of people, and it was very not much expected. Like, nobody expected it. And he would, like, sometimes he would just break into homes, rob, and then not always kill them. Which it's just unexpected. And 911 calls increased by 15%, like, after it was publicly announced, and gun sales skyrocketed. And then soon after, he travels to San Francisco and breaks into Peter and Barbara Pan. Yes, Peter Pan was his name. He broke into their house, shoots Peter, and then beats Barbara. Barbara survived. I'm unsure if Peter survived. And then he used Barbara's lipstick to draw a pentagram on the wall. Obviously, they linked that to the previous, case where he drew a pentagram on the wall again on somebody's thigh. I think he drew a pentagram on Mabel's thigh, I think, and then they linked to those two and was like, okay, so he's travelled. He's like travelling. He's getting everywhere. He was like a deadly disease. Like, he would travel quite fast and quite quick within, like, he could probably kill like 3 people within a night. Like, he just did whatever the fuck he wanted. He didn't give a fuck. Anyway, and then he also writes on the wall, Jack the Knife. I don't know why. Obviously, police connected to the Los Angeles case. And then the mayor. This is where it fucks up. The mayor goes on live TV and talks about what is happening, and she gives away all the evidence the police have against, like, the murderer that they didn't know of. Like, she said, we know what gun you use, we know what shoes you wear. Robert, seeing this, was like, oh, thanks. And then he goes and dumps his shoes in the Golden Gate Bridge, like over the Golden Gate Bridge. And a famous police officer quote said, I think, where is it? Let me just find it. I think he said something like, oh, there goes like the gun in the bay, but he actually kept the gun. Yeah, there goes the gun into the bay. Yeah, but he didn't get rid of the gun for some reason. I don't know. I think he just kept a hold of it for his other killings, but obviously they would probably link him more with the shoes, I think, because it's like a unique pattern, I guess. It's like a fingerprint that they had. And then the police were furious with this woman that she just gave away like all of their evidence. And then the case kind of breaks in August 24th. They got very lucky with this, by the way. So he travels to a home. People are still awake. He tried to break into this home, and obviously they went on a vacation and they were quite jet lagged, so they were awake that night. And then the son of the family hears noise and he goes to tell his parents, but they obviously didn't know he was the night stalker. So Richard sees that everybody's awake and hears a commotion going on inside and sees that the lights are on, and he just fled. But he fled in his orange Toyota, and James sees the car, the son. He sees the car, he comes outside and he writes down like some of the license plate, and like says it's a orange Toyota, and then he calls the police, and the police obviously have this on record, and then I think it was a couple of days, I don't know how long it took them, but the car was eventually found, and this is where he fucks up. So after Richard breaks into another house, he shoots a man named Bill, rapes the wife, demanding where the money is. And he forces her to declare her love for Satan. So he did this quite a lot with people, where he just forced them to like say, you love Satan and whatever. People saw him as Satan, so I think maybe in a way he was like, oh, well, you're trying to like getting him to like love you, I guess. I don't know. And then before leaving the house, he says to the wife, tell them the Night Stalker was here, meaning like the media or like the police. And then this is where like the Night Stalker becomes a thing, and he sees this all over like TV and whatever, and then he gets cocky. This is where he gets very cocky. Bill survives the attack, and then the wife was able to give a very, very detailed description on him. She mentioned the teeth, the hair, just everything about him, I guess. And then she also mentions the orange Toyota he got away with. And then obviously the police linked the crimes to like what James reported. They linked that to James's case. And then the car was found abandoned in Wilshire Center, Los Angeles. Richard obviously cleaned the car, but he didn't do it properly, and there was a single fingerprint left on the rearview mirror, and this matched to Richard Ramirez. Now, this is where they kind of go on TV and say, we know who you are, like, we know who we're looking for now. You cannot run, you cannot hide. But freaking Richard, my man, did not know this. So this is where it gets cool. Okay. And then it's described on the system as he is a 25-year-old drifter from Texas. Now, people would assume that obviously because he's done so many murders, he would be older. He was only 25. Imagine murdering like more than 6 people at the age of 25. Oh, my back's literally... Okay. And then his mugshot from 1984, where he... it was where he stole a car. like his mugshot from there was released to the public. Okay, and it was all over the news. It was all over like loads of newspapers. It was literally everywhere, and it's so funny that he didn't know this. Honestly, it's just bizarre. And then his face was just known everywhere by morning. Like as soon as they released that image, it just spread like wildfire. And then at that point where he was arrested for in 1984, where he was arrested for the theft, he already killed 2 people at that point. It was known. Look at all the writing I have here. Okay, so Richard did not know this, obviously, as I've said, and he gets on a bus to Arizona for 7 hours to go see his brother. He arrives at night time and his brother is not there, and he doesn't know what to do, so he just drives and like he gets on a bus at LA or to LA. Just to go back, and it took another 7 hours, and he arrives around 7:30 that morning, and he sees police are everywhere because they know what this man looks like now, but he obviously didn't know that they were looking for him, but he obviously thought, oh, I should not be seen right now, just in case, so he slips in a back entrance and he goes to a convenience store, but police obviously were thinking, oh, he's going to try and get out of of LA, so they were like around like the bus area just trying to look for him, but they didn't know that he just came back from a trip from Arizona to see his brother, so he came like out. They didn't really like notice him, so and then he enters a convenience store. This is where people are staring at him, and then as like he looks at them, like they look away, so he knew like something was up, and then he sees his face on the newspapers, and I couldn't imagine that, like me being a serial killer and just seeing like the newspaper like with my face, and I'd be like, oh shit, I better run. And then 2 elderly Hispanic ladies were talking to a police officer, and then they kept saying El Matador, which means the killer. He hears this, and he makes a run for it. And as he's running, he goes into the freeway and he tries to hijack a woman's car. And then the public sees this, and they are trying to run for him at this point. And there's an angry mob, and they see that he's trying to hijack a woman's car, and then they try their best to like help the woman, and they come to her aid. But at that point, he didn't give a fuck. He ran. Like, it's just so painful for me. He at one point in the car, he yelled, "Don't come any closer, I have a gun," obviously. A man saw that he didn't have a gun, and he didn't believe he had a gun. So he just dragged him out of the car, and he was able to just start running again, hopping fences. And at one point, so, obviously he went in somebody's garden and they just attacked him with tongs, barbecue tongs, which I thought was funny. I guess, I don't know. And then people, obviously, because it was in the neighborhood, people were spreading the word very, 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 very quick. And then, obviously, he was being chased, and people would call in about his every single move. So he really couldn't get away. He had no chance to get away. And the police started chasing him. And a police officer nearby named Andy was able to arrive to the scene. And at that point, when Andy arrived, there was loads of people around him, and one person beat him, I kid you not, beat the shit out of him with I think it was metal rod, injuring his head, and he had to be literally rescued from this mob, and he had to be treated on the scene by a paramedic. And when Andy Ramirez, there's no relation, by the way, they just have the same second name. When Andy arrived on the scene, he didn't know who this man was, really. And then when Andy asked for his name, he said, I think it was Ricardo Ramirez, something like that, Richard, Ricardo Ramirez, I don't know, something like that, similar to his name, but obviously he just said the longer version. And he still didn't know who he was until James Kaiser comes on the scene. Now, James Kaiser was somebody who reported on the Night Stalker case, and it clicks for him. Like Jim, it clicks for him. Andy, it clicks for him that he knows now that this is the Night Stalker. And then Jim puts him in the police car. I'll show you some footage here. Like, obviously, I'm gonna have images flashing on screen right here. And then mother, okay. And then Andy was just there trying to calm the mob down, which I couldn't imagine. And Richard at that point had no fight left in him. He couldn't be bothered, and you could see obviously I'm gonna put some images here. Him in the police car. He had all his face bandaged up, and there was just this this bald spot, and then there was this massive gash on his hands, which ew. I can imagine it pretty fucking hurt. And then in the car, he just says, "I'm going to be blamed for all these murders," which everybody just knew that he wasn't going to be blamed for shit. They knew who he was. And then Jim announces on the radio they have got him now. So everybody is very, very happy that they finally are able to catch him, and everybody can just chill out just a little bit, just calm down, be we've got him now. And we'll see the name. Nobody was really the same after that, but yeah. And then they eventually, once they get to the station, he actually threw up outside of the vehicle that he came in. And there was one report on it where somebody said his vomit was literally bright green. It was the evil, pure evil. And I was like, oh, gross. And then detectives who questioned him said he was the most vicious and violent person they have ever come across, which I believe. And it was he showed no remorse. He didn't give a fuck. And they said it was looking into a black hole with his eyes. Obviously, I'm gonna put that video up again because you can really you really know what they're trying to say to you, because the way he's just the way he just does it, it's just ew, no. And then whilst he was being questioned, he drew pentagrams. Also, I'm going to talk about his Satanism real quick. I don't people theorise that he wasn't actually really a Satanist. He just kind of added this Satanism theme to his killings for media attention. The video cut out because I had no storage on my phone, obviously. So where I was at he drew pentagrams on the table, whatever. And people mainly theorised this just because he wanted attention. He lived off of the attention he was getting from the media, which I believe. And then the trial that followed with this case was the most expensive in US history, which costed... it lasted about... I think it lasted about a year. And it costed $1.8 million, which nowadays that's $3.5 million, which, Jesus Christ. Also, I'm going to talk about his teeth. I don't know how he got paid or how they took care of it, but they fixed his teeth for him. Which, cool beans, I guess. Free teeth. And then he eventually confessed that he did all this, and then he withdrew his statement that he confessed. He did try to delay the trial as much as he could. He would mess around, he would fire people, and then he would hire people, and then fire them again. It was just repeated cycle. He just didn't really want this trial to happen. And after 3 years, 1998, I believe, the jury process begins. Okay, so it took 3 years. 3 years. I don't know if I got that 1998 date right, but if I'm wrong, please do correct me in the comments, because I tried to do this as best as I could. Oh my god, the radio is on. And then, okay, so it proceeds, and then And then they had like 1,600 potential juries they had to try and interview because they didn't want anybody to be biased. And then they got down to 24, 25 people. And then the following court case lasted a year due to the amount of evidence that was that had to be shown. So this man, whew, that was just, he did a lot. He really did. And I didn't even list like 5% of his murders. There's like probably like, there's so much more. I do mention like how many there was. I think there was like 13 murders. But anyway, moving on. Throughout his trial, like I think it was his trial or like in the court, he was very disruptive. I'm gonna insert a video of one of his outbursts.
I won't come back in here again. You understand that? This trial is a joke.
When the defense is going to file
Parasites. Before, and the fact remains that what it is. You don't understand. You are not expected to. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil. Legions of the night breed. Repeat not the errors of Nightcrawler and show no mercy. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all. That's it.
So he when he had an outburst, he had an outburst. That's all I can really say on that. And then, whilst his victims took the stand, he didn't show any remorse. Like his victims were right at the stand, and he laughed at them. Like he full on laughed, and he just sat there drawing pentagrams on the table, which, Jesus Christ. And then his first court appearance, he raised his hand, which I'll put a picture here, showing a pentagram, and he said, "Hail Satan." My back, I can't. Hopefully I got that on record, but my fucking back just clicked. He often wore very dark clothing, like dark glasses, and he would throw up hands symbols to his satanic supporters in court. Yes, this man had supporters. He also had a lot of groupies. Lots and lots of groupies. Like these women, they would fight over him. I kid you not. They would often write him letters with images and photos of themselves. If I can put an image here. This man had admirers, and then he eventually marries one person, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then inmates heard that he would smuggle a gun into court, and obviously they brought up, and metal detectors were installed. Obviously he never was able to bring in a gun, but this is where it gets spicy. A jury was shot and killed, but obviously people were like, "Oh my God, Richard may have had something to do with it," even though he couldn't have murdered her because he was in jail, I'm pretty sure, at this type of point. And it actually just turned out to be her boyfriend. He killed her, and then later on committed suicide in a hotel, which is very, very sad. And then Richard gained a lot of loyal people. He got a lot of mail from lots of women, despite his teeth. At that point, I'm pretty sure he still had fucking disgusting teeth. Despite his teeth, he was a very, very, very handsome man. I'll put it in a picture here. Lots of women fell for his looks. And they even thought that he was innocent, even though there was literally DNA evidence against him. And then this is where it gets crazy. The juror, one of the juries, fell in love with him. Bruh. Like that. Like when I heard that, I was in disbelief. That's the word. And she would give him very flirtatious looks during court, and he would give them back to her because he saw this. He took this to his advantage. And on Valentine's Day, he baked him not cookies. He baked him cupcakes, and they said "I love you" on it, which scary. And she was obviously soon dismissed from being a jury, and one woman caught his eye. She was a magazine editor, and she was Catholic and a virgin. He liked the fact that she was a virgin. Don't know why. She was obsessed with this man. They met before the court case, but obviously when he was in prison, I'm pretty sure this was, she sent him 75 letters before they, like, met again. And she was very protective over Richard. He didn't believe she believed that he was just innocent, and he was not capable of doing these things. And then he proposed to her in 1988, and she got a gold band for herself, and she got a platinum band for him because Satanists don't wear gold. And in an interview, she basically just said he's not capable of doing any of these things. And which I thought was funny. The interviewer was like, "Which one of us needs glasses here?" And she just like smiled and looked down and was like, And then eventually she also said that when he gets like the death penalty thing, she will commit suicide. That's how in love she was with him. And then eventually in 2009, it was unknown why they split, but they split up. And then September 1989, 4 years after his arrest, he was found guilty and found convicted of all charges. I'm going to list this now. 13 murders, 5 murder attempts, 11 sexual assaults, 14 burglary charges.
Jesus Christ.
And after he left the press, after he left the courthouse, he gave the press a one-word comment. All he said was evil. And then on the 7th of November, he received 19 death sentences. 19! I may add 19! Jesus Christ. And then his response to this was,
Big deal. That's always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland.
okay. And then he later was sent to death row prison. I don't know what it's called, like Santon prison, state prison. You'll probably find this online. Where he was going to be put to death in a gas chamber. But he never was actually put to death in a gas chamber. With the death sentence, it takes a very, very long time. He was probably, they estimated that he was going to be put to death in his 70s, meaning he still wouldn't be put to death. He would probably be put to death in like another couple years. And then in 2006, the year I was born, he started appeals. They were obviously very unsuccessful. Right up, obviously he had loads of appeals right up until his death. And these were pending. Obviously he died before any of them could go through. And obviously with these things, people have to read a lot of stuff. So his court case, these poor people, they had to read how much of it? Almost 50,000 pages long worth of just writing on his appeals and cases and whatever. Yeah. Somebody had to read that, all of it. Like, I couldn't imagine reading all of that. And then eventually, obviously, he had complications with B-cell lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. He also had hepatitis C, which I'm not surprised with because he did a lot of drugs back in his days. He did loads of cocaine, weed, heroin, I believe. I just did a list of shit. And yeah, that's my Richard Ramirez case. That was the longest video. I'm going to click my back. I want to see. Can you hear this? Oh, fuck. That was long. My back's in pain. My back is like crying at me right now. But yeah, that was my Richard Ramirez case. And yeah. I wouldn't say he's the most like the most dangerous serial killer to exist. He was, in the sense that he had no motive in what he wanted. He just wanted to kill because he loved it. Like he was hungry for killing, and Jesus, it is really just mad. But then again, at my age, he knew how to kill somebody. Like, I think what finally did it for him was Mike and that situation. I think that broke this the camel's back, and was like he kind of snapped into insanity. But when like the killing of his cousin's wife, he never reacted. He didn't care. Like, he acted like it was nothing. Like somebody being shot right in front of him. He just didn't give a fuck. But yeah, that's just my little thingy. If you want to see more of these, obviously I'll try my best to do them. I might do them like Charles Manson, like what's his name? Jeffrey Dahmer. That case fascinates me kind of. But no case has ever fascinated me more than Richard Ramirez. This guy is just like so interesting. To me, I believe he's just. It really does fascinate me. I've been watching loads of interviews recently of just him in like court and everything, and I'm very excited to actually edit this video. I don't know why. It's just cool, I guess. So yeah, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more true crime things from me, just tell me. And I list like a bunch of like people you want me to cover, and I'll do it. And because I don't really do true crime on my channel, but I might start getting into it more if you guys like it. And yeah, it took me about like 2 hours to write those notes. So sick. My back's in pain. It really is, but it's cool. Thanks guys for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Like, comment, subscribe, share, or do what you want. I don't care. Bye kitties.